Hello, this is Mike P from Road Trail Run. Today I'll be bringing you our review of the Merrell MTL Adapt Matryx. This is Merrell's long distance shoe. It joins their really great model lineup, including the Long Sky 2, the Skyfire 2 Matryx, and also the Agility Peak. This shoe is a little bit different though. First I'll walk you through some of the specs, and then later we'll go out and I'll show you some clips out on the run when I was testing this shoe out in Oregon. As you can see, a little bit more muddy out there than some of my typical trails here in Boise. We have 36 millimeters under the heel, 30 under the forefoot. The foam is Merrell's Float Pro foam. It's a dual density setup, co-molded. I believe it's a nitrogen infused EVA on the exterior that wraps an inner nitrogen infused TPU. So it's a little bit softer underfoot. On the exterior, you have that kind of higher density foam that gives it a little bit of durability, a little bit of control in terms of that foam being too squishy. Underfoot, we've got Vibram Mega Grip 4mm lugs. As you can see, something that's part of this shoe, and probably the reason why they called it the Adapt, is you have these flex grooves here along the side, and also, as you'll see later on the run, there's flex grooves built into the base of the midsole directly under the foot, going both lengthwise and horizontally, and that allows the shoe to flex a bit more than you would actually think when you're handling it. So as I flex this, it does appear to be quite stiff. I do get some twisting here, but it's not a shoe that you could easily fold over, and that's something I'll talk about on the run during the ride section. But getting back to the outsole here, you can see how there's a lot of segmentation here. There's no connection between the outsole here. There's no connection. There's a big X spot right here, small connections here on the outside, big gap here. So it's not a fully connected rubber, and I think that works in conjunction with the Adapt setup of the midsole itself. So it allows everything to have a flexible feel, more so than you could actually see when you're handling the shoe in hand. So taking a look at the upper here, we have a Matryx upper, similar to the Long Sky and the Skyfire. Really great, love the upper. A little bit more width across the toe box, a little bit more volume in the toe box. It's designed for longer distances, so that's to be expected. I have a 9.5 in all three shoes. Those feel snugger, of course. This one's slightly more relaxed, so whatever size you're wearing in those, I wouldn't be worrying about this one feeling snug. They seem to give you a little bit extra space in this one. One thing to note is I do like what they did with the heel collar here. They didn't go with these kind of racy type collars here. There's some small bolstering on the inside of these, and then this kind of floppy edging here. It allows debris to get in. I feel like these heel collars on these two shoes, they're a little bit loose, and the heel counter and the heel cup material is actually a little bit firm. With this one here, they went with a more standard setup. You have bolstering all around. It's pretty kind of normal. And I don't notice that firmness in the heel cup. It really wraps the heel well. I think this is a much better heel. I would like to see actually this kind of setup in those two shoes. It might add a few grams more of weight, but I think the comfort and the security would be improved on those shoes if they had this heel cup and this heel setup right here. So that about wraps it up. Let's head out on the run and let's talk about the ride, see how it performs out on the trails. Ooh, it's a heck of a steep hill here. Flex Connect midsole really feels good right now. Good flex climbing. So I'm out here testing the Merrell MTL Adapt Matryx. I'm out here in Oregon, Seed to Sea Trail, Corvallis to coast or coast to Corvallis. I guess you can go either direction. It's definitely a logging zone here. guess they They do a section at a time and let it regrow. I've seen some regrowth areas. I've been on this kind of logging road for a little while. I see this junction coming up right here. Finally gonna dip off into some trail here. Looks a little rugged in here. We'll see how it goes. Oh wow, this is pretty cool. A little more damp than Boise. A little bit more shade too, I'll say. So as you can see from a couple of those clips back there, quite agile for such a high stack shoe. I actually measured higher than the reported spec. I'll put that up on the screen. But yeah, those Flex Connect midsole grooves really are noticeable under the ball of the foot. In comparison to, say, the Agility Peak model, that shoe has a rock plate and has a rocker that's really much further up, closer to the toes. That shoe feels a little stiff to me. I don't feel as comfortable running that chute back down there that I just came through. These are unplated. You have kind of like a grid of those flex grooves, long ways and horizontally within the midsole. I have really good feel on the forefoot, even though the midsole is quite full under the arch. When I was coming in here on the road, little segment to get to the trail, it was noticeable how full the midsole is, the curvature is under the arch. Not in an obtrusive way, at least for me. Feels very supportive. I like it on harder terrain, say kind of like on the road or hard pack. It's very supportive. You can kind of land on that middle of the foot. It absorbs most of the impact, and then you roll right through to the ball of the foot. But then when you get into some more kind of trail terrain like that, I tend to go a little bit, or probably a lot more, up on my forefoot. So that flexibility, really, I felt totally comfortable. I mean, you can see the trail is covered in leaves, so I don't necessarily see what I'm exactly landing on, if it's a divot, a ditch, or a rock underneath, or whatever. But it's not something you think about ahead of time. But when the shoe feels good on the run, you just naturally feel more comfortable if you don't necessarily see what you're landing on, because I think instinctively you realize that, oh, if I land on something uneven, I'm going to be able to react quickly because I could feel it. Gotta hop a stick here. Okay. So yeah, I'm loving that mix of support and fullness under the arch and under the heel. That's great for descending. And then the flexibility really under the ball of the foot. Going back to the Agility Peak, the flex of that one, it really feels more like a rocker where you get it up by the toes and it feels more stiff. This one, right ahead of the midfoot arch area, you feel the flex coming through. So I feel really connected, more so under the ball of my foot than just up ahead at the base of the toes, if that makes sense. So basically these feel a lot more agile and versatile than the Agility Peak. Whoa, wet bridge. Oh, didn't fall down. We do have Vibram Mega Grip kind of tracking myself in Gaia here. Should be coming up on a nice climbing section here. This is post the running event. I'm in Oregon. I've been recently testing the La Sportiva Prodigio Pro and the Norda 005. Not to compare this shoe to those shoes specifically, but just to give you kind of a flavor of the kind of underfoot feel that I've been working with recently, kind of things flowing in my mind. All three of these shoes, interestingly, are unplated. So that is one similarity. Those shoes, difference, not that this is a comparison again, but those shoes are more flat under the arch and under the heel. They're even more agile than this shoe, of course. That's what they're designed for. Especially the La Sportiva, more of a mountain design. Norda's pretty much, I gotta test that more, but it seems like that one could go anywhere. But you're more flatter under the arch. You have more ground feel throughout your whole foot, not just under the ball of the foot. These are kind of more of a cruiser distance with that great forefoot feel that I was talking about. So this is more of kind of a mixed feeling than those other two shoes. Ooh, going up here. So if you can see there on that grade, I'm not sure about this grade, 8 or 10%, the flex beginning under the ball of the foot is really nice on the uphills. I don't feel like any sluggishness, kind of trying to push through to engage a rocker that's more oriented at the toes. So when I'm climbing like that, I feel like I get that flex and engagement right away, which makes the climbing feel really smooth. Of course, the higher drop also helps with that. Not stretching out the Achilles lower leg as much. It's a very smooth climber for a high-tech shoe. Look at this trail. Oh my god. This is fantastic. Oh, note on sizing here, I've got these in a US 9.5. Oh, they felt a little bit snug right out of the box. I was worried I might need a 10, but actually these have broken in a little bit after the first one or two runs. They felt much better. So I'm actually, I gotta pick up this garbage. So they've actually opened up quite a bit, and I'm happy that I've got the 9.5. So I've got 9.5 in the long Sky and the Skyfire, and also these. Those two Matrix ones, those are more of a race fit than these. So I'm snug in the 9.5, but for shorter distances, that's great. They seem to have built in definitely width in the forefoot with these, and I have no problem with length at a 9.5. So happy with the sizing here, true to size. So I've hit my allotted time for this outing. 5 miles in, hit a good turnaround point here. There's a little bit of climb here. Nice spot to turn around, head back on the trail. That about wraps it up for the Merrell MTL Adapt Matryx. I'll be doing the full written review on the Road Trail Run website. I'll put more appropriate comps in there, similar shoes. This is a great shoe from Merrell. Really loving it. Matrix upper. They took some of the cool stuff from the Long Sky and the Skyfire models and Made a nice and versatile distance shoe here. Really love it. So any questions or comments, comps that you want to see on the written website, leave a comment here. See you out there on the trails. Hey bear! Hey bear! Hey bear! Definitely just saw black bear and 2 cubs right in the middle of the trail. I think I'm good now. Hey bear!